In the previous videos, we talked about the basic properties of a Bravais lattice. So let's now see what happens when the Bravais lattice encounters a plane wave. There will be some kind of scattering, but what are the main properties of this scattering and what can we learn from it? Now, there are two kinds of plane waves that we're going to talk about here. One is the external electromagnetic radiation, basically X-rays. We apply X-rays to observe diffraction in a solid because the inter-ionic spacing is of the order of about a few angstroms, and that's comparable to the wavelength of X-rays. So if you subject a solid to X-ray radiation, then you will get the solid acts like a diffraction grating to that X-ray, and you will get fringes. You will get a fringe pattern, and that's called X-ray diffraction. And so that's the first context. Then we will be using the same physics to electrons. So what we will be doing is to take our free electron and combine it with the periodic potential, and again that will be a case of plane waves. That is, in this case, the plane waves would be the electronic wave functions encountering a Bravais lattice. So our earliest study of X-ray diffraction is from Bragg and the Bragg's formulation. So you have a set of lattice planes like this. We had talked about lattice planes in the previous class, and those planes are separated by a distance d. You have incoming X-rays and they get scattered off like that, and it's quite easy to see from the figure that the total path difference is 2d sine theta, and you get a constructive interference when the 2d sine theta is an integral multiple of the wavelength, and that's called the Bragg's law. So like I said last time, the crystal can be sectioned into different planes, all kinds of planes and all angles. So all of them will participate in the diffraction. So one of the major things that one does in an X-ray diffraction pattern is to find out what are the planes that give you those constructive interferences and so on. Now, instead of this, the Bragg formulation, one can discuss X-ray diffraction in a solid using a different formulation called the Van Lowe formulation. Here, what you do is you don't talk about lattice planes, but you only talk about lattice points. And so, suppose I have two lattice points here separated by some displacement vector d. Then I have an incident X-ray k and a scattered X-ray k prime. So the wave vector of the incident X-ray is k, the scattered X-ray is k prime, and we are only going to consider elastic scattering. So the magnitude of k and magnitude of k prime is the same, the wavelength is the same. And again here you can see from the picture that the total path difference is given by this, and that has to be an integral multiple of lambda for constructive interference. So I can now rewrite that. So this was written in terms of the unit vectors along the incident and the scatter directions, n cap and n prime cap. I can change that quite easily to k and k prime like that. And if the d is actually a Bravais lattice vector, then I can write it in this fashion, or I can reformulate it by raising it to the power of the exponent like that. And in the previous class, we said that the condition for the reciprocal lattice is e power I k dot r, where k is where k here is capital K is a reciprocal lattice vector and capital R is a Bravais lattice vector. And so you can immediately write capital R is small k prime minus small k. So what does this mean? This means that in the Van Lowe formulation, the condition for constructive interference is that the the difference between the scattered wave vector and the incident wave vector should be a reciprocal lattice vector. So K prime is the scattered X-ray wave vector. In this context, it's an X-ray, and this is the incident X-ray wave vector. So the difference between the scattered and incident wave vectors should be equal to a reciprocal lattice vector for constructive interference. Now, obviously, you should be able to show that this condition for constructive interference is the same as the Bragg's law, and that's quite simply done. So, we have this, which is the von Leeuwen condition. Now, like I said, we are only going to consider elastic scattering. So, the magnitudes of K and K prime are the same. We'll write it as K. So, if K prime minus K should be a reciprocal lattice vector, then obviously K minus K prime should also be a reciprocal lattice vector, some other reciprocal lattice vector. So I can now write from equation 1, I can write this, and from equation 2, I can write this. And because we are considering elastic scattering, I can essentially equate the two and write this. So you can pause the video for a moment and write this down. Please note, from now on, there will be considerable math, so you will have to pause the video and take notes for you to understand. I am strictly following Ashcroft only for your convenience, because it is, you have another source in addition to these videos. You have another exact source where you can refer to in case what I say does not make sense. So given this, now I can square it on both sides and write that, and that obviously becomes this, and I can read it as in this fashion. That is, the projection of the incident wave vector along the direction of the reciprocal lattice vector is equal to half the magnitude of the reciprocal lattice vector. That's the condition for constructive interference. So I can either say this or say that, they're both the same. Now I can pictorially depict this. So I can draw the reciprocal lattice vector capital K like this, and from a point O, and I can draw a plane in the bisector, right? That plane bisects that reciprocal lattice vector, and I can draw the incident wave vector and the scattered wave vector, the tips as tips touching the plane. So as long as from originating from one end of the reciprocal lattice vector and other end of the reciprocal lattice vector, as long as K and K prime remain on this plane, the constructive interference condition will be satisfied, and also this. So that's one way to look at the diffraction, and this is of course known as the Bragg plane. Now, because the scattering is elastic, I can view the whole picture in a slightly different way. I can say that K is hitting a plane at this point, then there is a K prime that emanates out, and I can draw the reciprocal lattice vector as perpendicular to this plane, and I can of course draw minus K like that, and these are the incident and the scattered angles like that. That's an equivalent formalism. Now, please remember, in the previous videos we said that given a set of lattice planes, when I draw one plane like this, it obviously means it's a lattice plane and there's a family of lattice planes. So given a family of lattice planes, you can always think or represent that family by a perpendicular vector, and that perpendicular vector is a reciprocal lattice vector, and the shortest length of that reciprocal lattice vector is 2 pi by d. This is what we discussed in the previous class. So we will use that result here, and given this, I can now say that that K, this reciprocal lattice vector capital K, has a magnitude given by some integral n times 2 pi by d. So 2 pi by d is the smallest length of this K, capital K, but it can be, in general, it can be integral integer times 2 pi by d, and that also will satisfy the constructive interference condition. So from this picture you can write capital K is just 2k sine theta, and I can rewrite that, and that would immediately gives me the Bragg's law. So that's the equivalence between the von Laue formalism. In the von Laue formalism, you are only considering scattering from specific Bravais lattice points. That's equivalence between von Laue formalism and the Bragg's formalism. In Bragg's formalism, you consider scattering from a lattice plane, but they are both identical. Now, there's a nice way to represent this. So what you do is, in reciprocal space, suppose I'm sitting on one point in the reciprocal space O, and I place the incident wave vector k with the end of it sitting at O, and it's pointing somewhere here. And now I take the scattered wave vector k prime, and I join the tip at this point, and constructive interference will occur only if the base or the end of the k prime wave vector is also sitting at another reciprocal lattice point, such that the difference between this reciprocal lattice point and that reciprocal lattice point is our capital K vector. So that's called the evolved construction. So as long as, so you have this sphere, and anywhere on this sphere, as long as this condition is satisfied, you will get constructive interference. So you sit on one reciprocal lattice point, and you place the vector k, that is the incident wave vector, and that's the center to the center. So that becomes the the center of the that's the center of the sphere. And you put the tip of the k prime vector at the center of the sphere, and only if the end of k prime touches is on another reciprocal lattice point, you will get constructive interference, such that the difference is a reciprocal lattice vector. Only then you will have Bragg reflection from family of lattice planes perpendicular to the reciprocal lattice vector. So you have, once this condition is satisfied, all black planes that are perpendicular to this reciprocal lattice vector capital K will give you constructive interference. Now, this is the third part of your assignment. Again, this is for 5 marks. So all the assignments are for 5 marks. I think I forgot to mention it before. So in chapter 6 of Ashcroft and Mermin, I would like you to study the chapter from diffraction by a monatomic lattice with a basis, the geometric structure factor. I think that's the last section of the chapter. Finish that off, and study it, make notes, and that notes is your assignment. That constitutes 5 marks. So now in the next part of the course, what we are going to do is we are going to consider electrons in a periodic potential. So we have considered a Bravais lattice. We have considered what happens to plane waves in a Bravais lattice, and now those plane waves were externally applied plane waves. Now we are going to talk about internal plane waves. That is, we are going to talk about plane waves which are basically electronic wave functions, and what happens when they encounter a periodic potential.